What's up, everybody? Blake Scholar Magic, and this is going to be a fun one today. Today, I'm going to bring you kind of the collective knowledge that I've kind of taken from playing Magic for the last couple of years, and kind of like understanding power level to an extent, kind of looking at the meta as a whole through social media, the new guidelines in general for bracket and power. It kind of seems like people are settling on bracket 3 as like a good baseline. Like, I've even saw a tabletop jocks short where like, someone's curious if their deck will go into the outer bracket levels like a 3, 4, and 5. And I see that in some forums too. It's like, well, I play this this deck. What do you guys think it is? What do you think like will it land? And some really good commanders I see like just on face value, like a Tevil. The format at Tevil people will just say, well, yeah, that could be like, if it works with the graveyard to an extent, it could definitely be a bracket too. There is some kind of, what would you say, situational combos that, are there in general as well. And it still lands there. So, it's kind of interesting, like, just the opinions about like what constitutes these different power levels. And it is based, I think, mostly on game changers, but I think there is also, like, I think a good baseline. I think, like, the most baseline card that's kind of always been there, it's kind of been always, like, a litmus test. I think it's always kind of, like, been kind of, like, serves as, like, a good, like, starting line. I really do think this is the one. Is Mox Opal. So this is a card that it is very expensive, $176. Oh my god, like that's incredible. That's such an expensive card, guys. I just cannot believe like how expensive some of these things are. I believe this was banned in Modern, but now it is not. So it is much more valued for affinity decks. It basically has to have a criteria to produce mana, meaning you have to control 3 artifacts total. To tap for mana, and would tap immediately, right? Because artifacts are not affected by summoning sickness. So the reason why this has kind of always been kind of a baseline card is basically that it has a requisite for producing mana. So you wouldn't automatically say this is like, automatically fast mana. It's not like it's a Chrome Mox, for instance, or one of the other Mox, in that basically substitutes a card in your hand and you immediately can produce mana off just like simply removing something from your hand, like a card from your hand. That's much easier to do than have 3 artifacts on the battlefield. So Mox Opal is kind of like that kind of lukewarm, if in terms of Mox and power, it's super, super good still, but it kind of like hovers in that almost acceptable, like kind of casual kind of card, where this could actually, in some circles prior to the power levels, be considered like, perhaps being able to be run into a casual meta, because like I said, you do have to meet that requisite for having 3 or more artifacts. It just wasn't like seen as like, oh my god, like, Mox Opal is just gonna like, break the power level of your deck. Well, you have to jump through a little bit of a hoop, right? So I thought that was always like a really good baseline. And if we can like kind of baseline this like as our like kind of bracket 4 power level, a Mox Opal, then perhaps we could kind of make a really sweet Meria Voltron deck that we would consider like a bracket level power 4. And just kind of go off of like kind of the cards that we think would be powerful. What would be like the vision of this deck, and like, like being a high powered commander deck that doesn't hold back on the cost of the deck, that kind of just can put in some of these very expensive cards and be something to like kind of look forward, and perhaps eventually get into like a more powerful meta with it, and maybe even test it out in like a competitive weekend event. That would be kind of the goal, to maybe perhaps test it into like a the comp tournament at your local LGS over the weekend, to see how it does, see how it can react into that kind of meta, where obviously there's a lot more competitive nature, and the card value and synergy is off the charts. We wouldn't even like kind of explore all of those kind of little nooks and crannies, but we kind of set something up that was extremely fast and could, if it in the right circumstances, do some some very powerful things, but maybe not be so oppressive. So I do think that, like, kind of in terms of a Meria deck to be powerful, I think you would play like a Wheel of Fortune as like one of your game changers. I definitely think this is kind of like this. I think it's like either this, like you can play like a card like Wheel of Fortune, or you can just go stacks with Meria. And I think if you combine both of those things, then you're doing some really naughty things. You know, like, I think that's when you're kind of like really kind of like saying, screw it. Like, we're going scorched earth on everybody, and like no one gets to breathe, basically. You know, and I can imagine how fast that would be. It would be a very fast deck. But I still think we could be extremely fast and still run like a very powerful game changer like Wheel of Fortune, and kind of lose that kind of stacks kind of mentality that we'd be running, you know, a good amount of stacks into the deck. So there's that. So I think that's kind of like a baseline. We kind of go there. For my just knowledge of Meria, the cards that I would run that are not game changers that I think are just extremely good are like kind of like the Cheerio effects. Like your Paradise Mantle is very good, very good. This card is just kind of turns Meria into a mana dork. This obviously Meria turns this into a forest. So it's just very strong, and it pays for its own equip cost. And it is equipment, so we do like equipment in this deck. We definitely want to, you know, find the cool equipment cards. I think you're going to play both of the Gilgameshes, and they're kind of like your heart. They're kind of like the heart of the deck. So this card is just really cool. For the 6 mana spot, you basically get like a thing that's just going to really wreck somebody's world. You know, you're going to look 6 deep, and basically all the equipments you reveal, you're just going to simply attach them onto them automatically. So just like extremely, you get to choose. You may put any number of equipment cards. Yeah, it simply just has to enter. So just really strong. Also, the other Gilgamesh can open like kind of that. Let's see, Gilgamesh. Yeah, the Godo, which is basically Godo here, the weapons collector. And this one will actually search up an equipment card and put it onto the battlefield right when it comes on the battlefield. So the combo is to, I believe it's called Memory of something or another. Let's see, not Mask of Memory, but we probably would run a Mask of Memory just for card advantage in this deck. Helm of the Host is the card we're looking for. So there's the Helm of the Host. At the beginning of combat in your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token is in legendary. That token gains haste. So the point is to equip your Sir Gilgamesh here, and it has that on tap effect. So when it attacks, it will just simply create a token copy of itself, and then you have like those additional redundant combat phases. So that's pretty sweet, isn't it? Yes, because each combat, at the beginning of each combat, create a token that's a copy of a equipped creature, and it isn't legendary. So it's just a very redundant combo, right? So that's kind of like the combo. It's kind of the combo that we're going to be looking for. Now, for Meria to kind of accelerate at a very fast manner, we got of course, the Wheel of Fortune. I think you also are going to get like your other wheel, the Wheel of Misfortune. Because like I said, you're going to be gassing out your hand pretty fast. So you're going to be wanting to like kind of take advantage of some wheel effects. Wheel of Misfortune, you're just going to be like lobbying a pretty decent amount of life to make sure that you're going to wheel. You're going to want to, because you're going to be low on cards. And draw 7. We want to get into 7 cards, you know. Also, Snort is also another one. Snort is only 31 cents. I think it's fine. I mean, it's just basically one of those ones we're going to be low on cards, and you're just going to be like refilling to 5. So that's fine too. That's just totally fine. So that's pretty good price for a Snort right now. Actually, probably a pretty good pickup for you if you want to pick that one up. So you got your 3 wheels here. Got some really nice kind of like just accelerants here, and then a combo. That's kind of like what we're kind of working with. Now, my favorite kind of cards, honestly, is like just like a Teething Wormlet. It's really fantastic in this deck because it's going to scale up and just kind of be a nice little beater, especially in your opening hand. And also, it's going to enable you to swing in like pretty freely. Like people are just not going to be able to interact with this. If it's starting to swing early enough, it's just going to be too strong, and too. It's going to be too deadly. The death touch is also just very hard to deal with. And basically the really cool cards that kind of make this the Teething Wormlet go, and Meria in general. Honestly, like the crux of her is to be able to just accelerate with mana, because she can tap your artifacts, and especially with equipments, because they can create treasures under circumstances. So a Prying Blade is a good example of this. It's really cool. Like you're just gonna love these like kind of lines where, you know, you're playing Meria and you have like a Teething Wormlet on the battlefield, and you already had like an artifact on the battlefield, and now you're playing a Prying Blade, and now you're perhaps able to like, you know, equip that. I think like the best one is like the Goldmine pick, honestly. But honestly, just the one cost for Prying Blade is good. You got to see that as like another forest, right? So these are just so very good. Like whenever this creature attacks, you're going to create a treasure. So they're just going to really help you get there. We're going to have to look up the other ones, because I just don't have like a working memory of all of these things. There's a few more. So we'll see. And we're going to be looking at images. There's one of them. The Beamtown Beatstick is good, and the Diamond Pickaxe. The Reaver Cleaver, you're probably going to get that one too. We're going to be very heavy on treasures in this way. So Reaver Cleaver, Diamond Pickaxe, Beamtown Beatstick. No problem. So those are pretty good there. Don't think we need the Sword of Wealth of Power. So let's get the Reaver Cleaver in there. And let's get Diamond Pickaxe. This is actually probably the more powerful version of Meria I do have. I do test the version of this like this on Brawl, and it's really strong. So I think it will like kind of make the transition pretty seamless, actually, to like a Brachyphore. I think it's kind of got all the pieces here, and yeah. We're definitely going to be running some nice little synergy in the graveyard as well. But let's focus on the treasures, because it seems like we're going pretty hard on the treasures so far, / equipments. So let's just see if there's anything. I know I'm going to be building the graveyard to an extent, and we'll get to that. Is there any other like, artifacts that I really like enjoy? Obviously you have your stapley kind of ones like this. Especially if we're going to be running a kind of a Brachyphore, I think we can run the Ancient Tomb. We can run Gemstone Caverns. We can also run Arcane Signet. We'd probably run like a Utopia Sprawl. Probably run like your birds. You'd run Ragavan, Delighted Halfling. I would assume you'd probably be into some decent ramp as well. But mostly, I think like your 1s to 3s are good, right? And a la Beasley, the creator Beasley, your 1s to 3s. 1 mana to 3 mana, just goated. Let's see here. I think you would just probably run like your elf package here. Birds, Delighted Halfling. Yeah, you like to have creatures. Your Llanowar elf. Elvish Mixstick. And just your other homies as well. Vindhorn. Yeah. So you'd have a pretty good, like, just non-artifact ramp package too. Then you have also these very strong ones as well that kind of are sitting here. You definitely love like your other 0-mana artifacts in this way. So like your Mox Amber is really good. And I think the 0-mana artifacts are pretty decent. I mean, you could even play like your Memnites here and your Ornithopters. And I am also a fan of Patchwork Automaton. You'd also run like your swords. So Sword of like Feast and Famine. Yeah, we'll run the Sword of Fire and Ice. These ones are a little bit funkier because, you know, you can't really equip your Ember Cleaves to these, but they're just like the Sword of Fire and Ice and Forge and Frontier, but they're just really good. And they're cards I have. So that helps too. Oh yeah. And then if we're going to go into these guys, you're going to definitely want to get like your Lane Line Axe and Genji Gloves too. So we're at 36 playables so far with a smattering of lands. And deck already kind of feels pretty strong. I think like some of the other top ends I was working with this one was just like the extra combats. So you can get the, what is his name? Cal, is it Cal? Blah, blah, blah. I really haven't played too much with it. But Marag is one of my favorites. So yeah, the Fury of Cume and is it Cal? I'll have to look this one up too. Karlak. And then if you're doing, you know, the extra combat steps, Great Train Heist is pretty cool too. Cool. In terms of like removal, I'd always just run like this kind of pretty dependable suite of like a Beast Within, Blasphemous Act. Probably even get like a kind of a low sweeper too. I am fond of like the mono red one that was pretty people Spiteful Banditry. It's really good. Yeah, I like Spiteful Banditry. It's really solid, makes those treasures good for our treasures. I think you would definitely run a gold span because now we're making so many treasures too. And I think probably a professional Facebreaker is probably working itself into. Alright, now we need like our protection because like she's great, but she needs to be protected like at all costs. So you're definitely be running like your Mithril Coats here. Lightning Greaves. She gets targeted like crazy. So you need like every little ounce, like even like a leather armor is something you need here. Lava Spur boots, Swiftfoot boots. I'd probably even put in like a Sylvan Safekeeper too. Definitely we get our Sylvan Library here. Shadow Spear. And I think we're pretty solid. Ember Cleave would be very nice as well. Ember Cleave. And I also am a fan of probably Sword of the Animus. Really hot stuff here too. Dazzling Dagger is pretty cool also. God dang, this deck is getting expensive. But that's just how it happens, man. So how many artifacts are we running now? 26? I think we kind of got all the ones we wanted too. Honestly, I'd run an experimental frenzy in this deck too, because you might want to like gas up. You want to like gas in and gas out, if you know what I mean. Even like a cost reducer could really kind of go a long way too. Let's see, cost reducing creatures like a Foundry Inspector I think would be really cool. Nice. So 57 main deck with, like I said, a smattering of lands. Kind of coming up into like when we're adding lands and kind of the deck is kind of finished here. I think you probably want like some more like spot removal. I don't think you're ever down with like a lightning bolt. I think everything is pretty cool to lightning bolt. And I think you want to do like a little kind of, graveyard kind of payoff too, to an extent, especially at this kind of, especially with the wheels that we're kind of offering for ourselves. And I think like when you kind of get into the like your bracket 5, that's when the deck kind of warps into like Underworld Breach, Mesmeric Orb stuff with a really like restrictive stacksy kind of piece where the end game is just to kind of go off with like your Aetherflex reservoirs and stuff like that, or like your pingers, like your Reckless Fireweavers and stuff. Just basically like redundant casts with your Sensu's Divining Top stuff. It's kind of like where that kind of ends up as. But here we're kind of like just cool, right? We're feeling pretty powerful, but we're not like touching into some of the really weird stuff, like the weird kind of redundant combos. It's just like kind of in your face. It's a very in your face kind of deck, this one, which we like. We definitely like that. I think our legendaries are pretty good. Like if we want to add kind of more creatures that I just like to like add in terms of like getting in and kind of getting our graveyard cooking. I like Avora and NT a lot. I'm pretty sold on those. I do like that they are legendaries as well. And Magda kind of gets in there too, doesn't she? She makes a lot of treasures. Yeah, and I think it would be kind of something like that. It looks fine, Plain. Do we add our Vandal Blast in? No, we didn't. We need to add the Vandal Blast. So, like, when I was taught, like, Commander, I was basically playing Gruul. I was led knowing about, like, these kind of global type of cards. Like, they get better when they're playing a multiplayer, like a Blasphemous Act. It's just a really good sweeper because, you can play this for really cheap because there's going to be usually a lot of creatures on the battlefield. So, usually gets the job done. Vandal Blast is also one of those really, really nice, like, efficiently priced cards that will just destroy all your opponent's artifacts and won't destroy yours for 5, But this could also just be a single target removal spell for an artifact too. So it's really solid. Yeah, so this would kind of be your base here. Go ahead and like add like a very expensive mana package here, and it put us exactly at 100, guys. That's kind of crazy. Let's see the mana package here. Is there any redundancy? It's the Taiga that kind of really pushes us over the top. But we can just leave it as it is. Is there any like things I would change? Does it run like your Surveil lands? And I don't think we need to have 40 lands. I think we could run 38 because I still want to run like a few of the goblins. I am fond of our goblins. I do love like a goblin welder. And I also do like the goblin engineer. I think you're definitely playing like a worldly tutor too. And then that would be 37 lands. So let's see. The Gruul mana base is we can look it up. I don't mind that. Let's see. Spire Garden's pretty sweet. I was looking more for like the Surveil land. There it is. Commercial District, Spire Garden. Yeah, we'd probably soup this one up. What was the Spire Garden, right? Did I get that one in there? Yeah, we did. Commercial District, then you can have Grove of the Burn Willows. And Firelit Thicket. I think you'd want to definitely keep your tap lands at a bare minimum for this kind of power level. I think you'd probably be a little bit spooked out from running too many tap lands. So this looks pretty good. Exotic Orchard is kind of like whatever. Firelit Thicket. It seems like a lot of basics. A few search lands. Your multi-face land cards are definitely be like the disciple of like your Fralice and Balaged Recovery. I also am a fan of Stump Stomp and Bridgeworks Battle. Add like your Boseiju and Silkenzon. And I think you'd be pretty happy with like probably like maybe a Den of the Bugbear. Maybe. But honestly, I think it's just like, I don't know if you're winning with those. I don't know if you're going to be able to win manlands in this particular deck. Probably skew it towards the forest, but still we're still got some wiggle room here for some more action with our lands. Is there any other like really cool lands that I really love? Probably even playing like a Lotus Cobra if you're gonna be running all these fetch lands too. Sure, we'll put in the Fable Passage for that little Cobra Daddy. Ooh, yeah. 5 forests or 6 forests. Yep. I think this would be like a cool bracket 4 deck. I think it would. I think let's see what it says we're at bracket 3. So because we have just 2 game changers, so I guess we didn't do it, guys. We went for the Gusto, but we just didn't get there because I guess Wheel of Fortune doesn't count as one. If I add, okay, we'll be a little nasty. Honestly, like this is probably all you have to do is add a Winter Orb. It probably just makes your deck better, anyways. Even see, because this even reminds me of Howling Mine. That card is freaking cracked. How are we doing now? Whoa, we're still not. Oh, we've done it. we're in, guys. We're in. We're so in now. So, that's cool. Worldly Tutor can go. It's fine. It's fine. We need more creatures to like handle equipments too. Anyways, I don't really want to touch those, and I think we could get rid of one of these elves and be pretty happy, guys. And this is it, guys. This is I guess it's like my first bracket 4 deck, I guess, that I've kind of made on the channel. So let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'm excited. Let's go take a look at kind of what this looks like. I mean, god dang, this looks kind of nasty, doesn't it? Yeah, it kind of looks kind of sick because you got your Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer combo, and this can just basically fetch up any artifact and put it onto the battlefield if you sacrifice, right? Through a sacrifice. So it looks pretty fast to me. I would like to like kind of surveil with this land though, so I can kind of like keep this very greedy hand. But we do have the Moxen too, and we have a couple draws at it. What is like our big artifact? I mean, this is kind of a nasty thing to get on the board with Meria, and that kind of just works, immediately. The Goblin Engineer can just fetch up simply as that, but is that really your target? Like, I mean, you probably want to go for something a little bigger. What's like, our biggest artifact is just like, this 4 mana play. So, oh, Embercleave is pretty good too. Yeah, Embercleave is a good target for our Goblin Engineer, Goblin Welder. That's not the worst. Not doing like a Portal to Phyrexia thing, but maybe we should. Maybe one of these like things that are a little redundant. One of our like swords. Ether Coat seems cool. Any of these kind of like just I think you want all your treasures ones. Dousing Dagger just kind of opens up your game plan, but it does sacrifice itself. We usually want to just use it for mana anyways, but it is quite a good source of mana once it does flip. Isn't it? It's just good in this format. I think we're pretty happy there. Don't have to be too crazy. Maybe it will change a little bit, but honestly, in this deck, like this kind of plays as like more like a 7 mana card because Meria can tap it down, as you move to your untap step. So you basically untap with it, and then you get to untap your lands. So there's that. So really interesting keep would be a really interesting card. I think we want to land here, and I think we're kind of just broken free here overall. I mean, they call it kind of just plays out itself here. So we just kind of play this out. We don't even need to surveil with it. We just kind of add this. Probably just, keep this kind of hidden here, this Mox Opal. And I think the play is to run in the Engineer now. Embercleave, huh? Is that like the play, though? Could be amongst it. It could be really anything. You can just entomb anything here. It's quite the combo. It's like maybe not the best look of it here, but it's because Portal to Phyrexia, Cityscape Levelers. These are kind of extraordinary things, right? It might even just be a Soul Ring at this point because you're not guaranteed your 3rd land here, and we still want to progress, right? So you might put in like your Soul Ring here to the graveyard, and that might be really smart because now you can just simply drop like your Mox Opal and sacrifice it, and then interchange this for your Soul Ring, and now you have still 3 mana to play with. Plus you can get back like things with your Goblin Engineer. You can kind of loop things around a little bit. You could definitely want to be putting down treasures to an extent. And the next turn we definitely be able to kind of get Meria cooking, I think, too, to an extent. Yeah, because this is you would not have red-green available any longer. Kind of an interesting start to say the least, I would say. Probably just run out your Mask of Memory here. Move on to your next turn. This is a Soul Ring. And Meria can kind of get really cooking here because she has just the ability to be casted here. Can tap these down for mana. Can tap them down for mana, and then you can exchange like, your Mox Opal back perhaps. How would the sequencing look for this? So these are just on the battlefield from your previous turn. I'd honestly think that it was fine to just run out the Reaver Cleaver though, right? Because you had 3 mana available off a Soul Ring in the Yeah, the 2 generic mana and just like red mana. So that would be it. And now you're on to your next turn. And I think we drew one of these cards here. And then Meria would come down. And then you would have 1, 2, 3, you'd have 1 floating plus 2 mana here. Go into your Mask of Memory, I suppose. You could tap that for mana. You could exchange probably one of these out. Probably go back to your Mox Opal for like sacrificing one of these with this. Play your Dowsing Dagger out. And, perhaps equip one of these things, maybe equip your Meria with it or something. It's an interesting deck. Definitely kind of light on the mana. I don't like to be light on mana, guys. That didn't feel great. I don't want to be like too low. So, that's the thing, is that I think maybe 1 more mana would be good. Just like 1 more land mana. What's a good, like, solid one? Like, just like a Pathway, I suppose, would be fine. I don't think they added the pathways in. Verge lands are pretty good, too. Even like the pain lands are pretty good. Carplucent Forest. Beautiful. The Utopia Sprawl is still there, guys. It lived. It lived through the cuts. How did it do that? Does it look good here, or does it look pretty bad? I don't know. I think it's kind of risky. I'd rather just run like a Fintward Elf. I must have cut something maybe I didn't want to cut. Let me know. Ooh. Obviously, like any hand with this is going to look, crazy. But, yeah. I mean, this is like kind of the juice, right, guys? Like, not really much else to say about it. I mean, you're just going to be popping here. Your hand is just kind of getting dumped out so fast, it's just simply dumping out. 3 mana available here. Pride Blade. Could probably just like toggle these on. You could do the equip, or you could just get down the boots immediately. Probably it's fine just to get the boots down, or even the memory, and just kind of do all this at once next turn. Probably though, you're going to want to just make sure you equip your Ornament with a Greaves. But this is all on turn 2. And that's a freaking Ragavan. Yeah, you're definitely going to be running into your Meria here. And I think you can just... I think we can still probably wheel here because you have your Meria here. You can toggle these off. You still have 1 mana floating from the cast, and this could pay for the Prying Blade equip. So this is tapped. Well, it was tapped anyways to cast Meria, so that doesn't count. So this is 1. You tap this down, so these are both tapped, but this one's equipped. And then you still have this mana available, and this mana available, and this. No, just those two. You swing with a Wormlet, connect, and then you can just wheel away your Ragavan and Swiftfoot Boots. Draw 7 cards. And you can continue the chain here. Wormlet grows. Ornithopter comes on. You can still equip these to the Wormlet too. 0 equip. And you are so close to just having your Winter Orb available. But now you can play a Sylvan Safekeeper. You're in pretty good shape on turn 3. So that's insane stuff. Alright guys, well, bracket 4, here we go. I will definitely try this one out. See if there's any brave souls at the LGS that want to kind of give it a spin. Because we definitely have done the thing, and it really wasn't too difficult to get there. I mean, I'm kind of surprised about these brackets. It's like, the Magic is so vast, and some of these cards that you think were like, oh, so it definitely took away my Worldly Tutor. That's what it like. I misclicked on the Worldly Tutor because we had those Game Changers before, and I still think we want that. Yeah, that was the one that I accidentally misclicked off of. Yeah, the Worldly Tutor is obviously just like very good. What else to say? I mean, like, you're at 101 now. It's like kind of 37 lands felt kind of nice, didn't it? Oh, 36. Well, it seems that one was better. And I don't know if you want to look at this area, the equipments. It'd be kind of more over here that you'd be kind of considering. We kind of saw how powerful the wheel is. You know, we would have been delayed a little bit to play this, but we'd play out the Ragavan and Swiftfoot Boots, and then we would do that and get them some more gas. So these are kind of important. Obviously, these are lands, so these look all very important to me. You know, obviously the artifact ramp is really strong, so still think you keep the Cobra. Magda's pretty good, but she's somewhat slow, but we do have a lot of haste to kind of help her out. It could be one of these because they're pretty redundant, like the NT or the Evora. I think the Evora gets the say because she actually helps create fodder for our goblins too, like our Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer. She makes blood tokens, so she's pretty great. Yeah, guys, so this is it. This is the Bracket 4 Meria Voltron. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Giveaways all the time. Just comment. Do it. Bye.